You know who it is, and you know what time it is. Time to piss off some feminists, trad cucks, and whoever don't want to know the truth. Oh well, let's get started.
White women play victim quick in a motherfucker. But that white man got a line for you white women. See, when that white man get mad, he get mad. You know, brothers, we get mad, we march. We shall overcome. You know, we get a good march in, misspell signs, we gone, you know. That white man get mad, he snap. You know, white women like, I'm taking the kids, I'm taking the house. We're gone, we're out of here, you asshole. That white man be like this. I came from a long line of Brookshires. You're not gonna take my seed from me, Guinevere. Now here's the one sentence that white man got for their ass. Over my dead body. And that motherfucker mean that shit. Over my dead body. I'll kill you. Then I'll kill the kids. I'll burn the fucking house to the ground. Then I'll do myself.
What is going on, gents? It's RPM here. And the intro to this video comes from an old Eddie Griffin skit or stand-up, but it's very relevant to what I'm about to say. Now let's get into this. I'm going to do a 2-for-1 deal today because both of these stories show exactly what a lot of men have been saying to women over the past few decades. Eventually, there was going to be a reckoning, and it is starting to happen. Now, the first story I'm going to get into. Baltimore FBI agent apparently stabbed estranged wife to death, committed suicide. Now, this story came out on the 8th of this month. A Baltimore FBI agent apparently stabbed his estranged wife to death before committing suicide at her Maryland home. A woman reported to 911 about 8 a.m. Wednesday that Donna Fisher had asked her to call because she was being threatened by her recently estranged husband. Officers responded to Fisher's Crownsville home where they found Fisher, 54, with apparent stab wounds, and David Rayner, an FBI Baltimore field office employee, with apparent stab wounds and a self-inflicted gunshot wound, police said. Fisher and Rayner, age 52, were declared dead at the scene. The apparent murder-suicide occurred on the day that Fisher and Rayner were expected back in divorce court, according to court records. The two appeared in court on Tuesday and were set to return Wednesday and Thursday, the records state. Fisher had filed for divorce in March 2017. Court records showed child support was one issue in the divorce. Rayner joined the FBI in June of 1993. And he joined the Baltimore field office in February of 2003. Autopsies will be completed to determine the exact cause and manner of death, police said. Now that story was short, so I'm going to get into the next story. And this happened, wow, very recent, within the last, I would say, 24 hours. U.S. airman fatally shoots two young children as they slept and wife before killing himself. A member of the U.S. Air Force in Washington State who was reportedly despondent over an upcoming divorce fatally shot his two children while they slept and his wife before calling 911 and killing himself. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office said that they found the bodies inside of a home near Spanaway, about 45 miles south of Seattle. he told an emergency operator that he killed his family. The victims were identified as 33-year-old Samantha Field and the couple's children, 4-year-old Ava, 2-year-old Ashton, according to the county medical examiner's office. The alleged shooter, Clint Field, age 29, he was originally from Florida and his wife from New Hampshire. The sheriff's office said that the children were shot while they were sleeping and their mother was also shot in bed. The sheriff's spokesman, Ed Troyer, told Seattle area TV station KOMO that investigators had learned that Mr. Field had been upset and had a past incident where he mentioned suicide. Troyer also said that family members mentioned that the couple may have had a divorce proceeding about to start. We have not been to this house before and there is no history of domestic violence, Troyer said. Diane Patton, who sold the home a year ago to the family, said in an interview that it was a tragic situation. Okay. Now, I've said this before. Many other men have said this before. And if you look at both of these cases, the women were older than the men. Now, look what was about to happen to these men. They were both going to be divorce raped. They were both going to be put into damn near slavery, wage slavery, if you will. These men were both put into a corner. They had nothing to lose, so they said, fuck it. Now, I'm going to say this very slowly, so my words cannot be misconstrued by the trolls out there. I only feel sympathy for the children. And I will explain why. When it comes to divorce, the children, if the divorce is successful and the woman does take the kids away, they become living hostages. That woman's going to usually manipulate them into hating their own father. Or, in the case of the second one, they become collateral damage and casualties of war. Because let's face it, when divorce is filed, it becomes a war. So, with that being said, I have zero sympathy for any woman who files for a no-fault divorce to decide to use the court system as a way to enact their own vengeance for their own petty and selfishness upon their husband, and he decides to take their life. I feel no sympathy for it. Times are changing. Before, when a man got divorce raped, he was able to somewhat pick himself up, dust himself off, and say, you know what, I can at least try to find a couple of jobs to try to eke out a living and still meet my financial requirement. Now, there are plenty of videos on YouTube of men who were in these courts when they said the logical question, if I am put in jail, how am I going to pay off these debts? And of course, the judge sits there, shrugs his shoulder and says, in no shortage of words, that's not my problem. And the women, if they are there, they're usually laughing themselves into a frenzy. They feel good knowing that they've exerted power over this man. They've taken away his freedom. So no, the day of reckoning has come. Men are no longer taking it. These women decided, oh, you know what? I'm going to file for divorce and I'm going to make you pay alimony and spousal support and child support. So guess what these men decided? You know what? If I'm going to be paying alimony and child support, I might decide to put you on life support. Now, I made a couple of videos. One of them was called A Father's Revenge, where I talked about a man who killed himself and his teenage daughters. And I made another video called A Mother's Revenge, where a mother decided to kill her two children, and strangely enough, she didn't follow through with her suicide. Now, those two videos show the ingrained hypocrisy when it comes to men and women. Why? Because if you look in the comment section of A Father's Revenge, there are plenty of people who have a lot to say. So naturally, what do? I throw down the gauntlet and say, okay, where's your outrage for the victims in The Mother's Revenge? So naturally, what do? They shut the fuck up because they know I get to call them out on it. But going back to these two stories, men have had enough. The most dangerous creation of any society is the man who knows he has nothing to lose. These women used the court system to paint these men into a corner and put them in a position to where they had nothing to lose. So what did they do? They came out fighting. Well, that's all I got to say on this one. Let me know what you guys think. RPM, I am out.